Tonight, victory is around the corner. General Overseer of RCCG, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, raises hope about overcoming insecurity in Nigeria as he visits Governor El Rufai. A day after 6 persons were killed in Zagon Kataf, 5 others have died after gunmen attacked Igabi and Zagon Kataf local government areas of Kaduna State. EFCC grills former Imo State Governor Senator Rochas Okorocha over allegations of fraud after being arrested in his home in Abuja. And US troops to withdraw from Afghanistan by September 11th. Plus, business, sports, news from Abuja, and later, international news from our London studio. On business news tonight, Department of Petroleum Resources releases list of active and inactive private-owned refineries as federal government moves to boost investments in the oil and gas sector.
On sports news tonight, 10-year-old Stephanie Onusurika of Anambra State wins the gold medal in women's gymnastics aerobics event at the 20th National Sports Festival.
And from Abuja, Inspector General of Police seeks improved working conditions for officers and men of the force as he meets with the board of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund.
Nigeria's victory against banditry, kidnapping and insurgency is around the corner. That's the message of assurance from the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Adejare Adeboye, as he visits Kaduna State today to commiserate with the government and people of the state over the rising case of attacks. Pastor Adeboye's visit to the state follows the recent abduction and release of some members of the church in Kaduna about 3 weeks ago. The visit also affords him the opportunity to discuss issues concerning insecurity in the state with Governor Nasir El-Rufai.
The General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, arrives at the Kaduna State Government House accompanied by some senior pastors of the church. He is received by top administration officials. The visit to the Kaduna State Governor comes barely 2 weeks after 8 members of the church were kidnapped by bandits in Kachia local government area of the state while going for an evangelical program. His mission here is to interface with Governor Nasir El-Rufai over the spate of insecurity in the state and to also commiserate with the people of the state over the unfortunate cases of attacks by bandits.
We have been following the happenings in Kaduna State, particularly in recent months, and we have been deeply concerned for the inhabitants of the state, concerned for the government, and particularly concerned for you, sir. We know you have a problem that only God can solve. A problem far, far beyond the abilities of any human being. But I want to assure you, sir, victory is around the corner. Amen.
Governor El-Rufai sympathizes with the Redeemed Christian Church of God family over the recent abduction of some pastors and parishioners in Kaduna State and seeks the support and prayers of the church towards addressing the security problem.
This country needs divine intervention more than at any time in its history. So we are grateful for your prayers, we are grateful for your blessings, and we will continue to ask for more.
Kaduna, just like some states in the northwest zone, has been enmeshed in killings and kidnappings by bandits, with many people rendered homeless in the process. But beyond that, Governor El-Rufai and his august guest believe that with concerted efforts, these security challenges will soon be a thing of the past.
Staying in Kaduna State, less than 24 hours after 6 residents of a village in Zago Kataf were killed by gunmen, the attackers struck again today, this time in Baka 1 and 2 villages in Igabi local government area. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Mr. Samuel Arwan, confirmed that 4 persons were killed and another injured in the attack. He adds that security agencies also reported the death of a herder in a counter-killing at Sabanfan village of Zagon Kataf local government area. According to him, the herder was hacked to death by unknown assailants while grazing his herd at the location. He says this killing is the latest in a sequence of attacks and counter-attacks after yesterday's killing in Wawun Rafi 2 village of the same local government. Down in Benue State, where the State Security Council comprising traditional rulers, stakeholders and political leaders from Konshisha local government and security chiefs have countered the recent allegations by residents of the community that about 70 civilians were killed in a recent military operation in the area. The residents had alleged that the civilians were killed during the clampdown operation to recover the bodies of the 12 soldiers killed by a militia group. After a 5-hour closed-door meeting at the government house, Governor Samuel Otom told reporters that the casualty figures on the part of Konshisha civilians and members of the militia group stands at 6, as established by leaders from the local government stakeholders and the chairman of the council. The meeting also condemned the brutal killing of the soldiers and the carting away of their weapons.
The meeting confirmed that 6 persons, including 2 militia members, died during the search for the missing soldiers, not 70 people as was being speculated. This is coming from the stakeholders from Konshisha local government, including the chairman himself and other stakeholders. So 6 people, not 70. 4. Stakeholders were advised to refrain themselves from making inflammatory statements and allow the government and the security agencies to handle this matter. The meeting tasked traditional rulers and other stakeholders to ensure that all weapons taken from the murdered soldiers are returned unconditionally. 6. As soon as arms are returned, the State Security Council will review the situation and decide otherwise. 7. To end the lingering crisis between Ojo and Konshisha, the meeting resolved that the demarcation of the boundary between the 2 local government areas be carried out as soon as possible. 8. The meeting resolved that all those involved in the killing of the soldiers should be arrested and prosecuted.
Over in the southeast, it's another tale of woes in Anambra State, where a school which used to be a refuge point for internally displaced persons, particularly flood victims in Aguleri community, has given in to the recent rainstorm that rocked the community a few days ago. Apart from the school, the heavy rainstorm destroyed several other private and public structures, forcing many residents to seek shelter elsewhere. But the state government says it is responding to the situation.
It's a scary sight at Father Joseph Memorial High School, Aguleri, an all-male boarding school with a population of over 2,000 students from all over the country. A heavy downpour leaves about 15 buildings in the school premises in bad shape. Roofs blown off, parts of the walls pulled down, and books left by the students in their lockers all damaged. A delegation from the National and State Emergency Management Agency visits the school to assess the level of damage. Thankfully, none of the students were injured, as they had all retired to their hostels, which were spared by the storm.
This used to be the exam hall and the computer lab with the SS3 and SS2 block. So we met it like this. It also affected the admin block and, in fact, every building in the school. So that was actually what happened, and over 2,000 students are now displaced. So we have nowhere to study, we have nowhere to stay, we have nowhere to take exams. That's the problem we are in now.
were completely shattered and devastated. We have a program that we're hoping that before the end of this year, we will have a 3,000 capacity hall there, which will have a sick bay and a computer center. All right? But with this happening now, we don't even know where to start.
The officials decry the impact of the rainstorm as the school is a major holding center for persons displaced by flood. At the Justice Chinwuba Memorial Secondary School, the situation is pitiable as the new school block, books and other educational materials are destroyed, forcing the students to conduct academic activities under a tree.
So why would the Bible size by 9 to get our C?
The students, as you can see, are stranded. Most of them are standing outside. There's no extra classroom for them to stay. So it's affecting us.
The rainstorm also ripped the structures at St. Peter's Anglican Church, not sparing economic trees and the school building. The Otuacha High Court complex and several private buildings are now roofless and their occupants stranded. The situation appears hopeless for the victims of this disaster, but a quick intervention by both the state and federal governments may bring the much-needed succor to the people.
Moving on to other stories, the negotiations between the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors and the federal government seem to have made some progress as the doctors get more assurances from government that their demands will be met, this time from the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila visited the headquarters of the resident doctors in Abuja and after listening to their demands, promised that the government is doing all within its powers to ensure the doctors do not down their tools. He says he will discuss with the Minister of Finance on how best to accommodate all the issues and cement the memorandum of action.
I think we made some progress. We made some headway. We've been talking. This is not a first. We've been talking. The chairman is here of the health committee, and he's been briefing us. And that is what has led us to today, to the suspension of the strike for 4 weeks. And I believe that before the 4 weeks is up, we'll be able to cement, so to speak, the deal. There's a memorandum of action signed between the resident doctors and government, and ours is we'll go between, and we'll make sure that that is followed as best as we can. You understand the importance of these guys, so we can't afford to have them lay down their tools.
The president of the Resident Doctors Association is, however, optimistic that their demands will be met within the 4-week grace period.
The Honorable Speaker coming to our Secretariat, we have been able to achieve some more commitments in response to why we called off the strike. As it stands, most of the House officers are getting paid their salaries, and the ones left are those that had some bank failures and are being treated on as we speak. As it stands, the members on the gift mix platform are being investigated and payments should start from tomorrow, which I am aware. Payment starts from tomorrow, then enrollment into the ISP's platform should be before the month ending. As it stands, the Minister of Labour with the Minister of Finance, the Salaries and Wages Commission, held a meeting yesterday to try and determine an upward review of the 5,000 Naira hazard allowance. And we're meeting again tomorrow in the Ministry of Finance with all our health workers to determine the best possible increase in the hazard allowance. As it stands, there's a mandate given to the National Postgraduate College telling them that they should submit the list of members for the Medical Resident Training Fund for 2021. And also the Speaker of the House have assured us that those that were 1,003 members that were removed, that were omitted last time, that the budget for them will be made in the supplementary budget and they'll be paid to members.
In part two, after the break, we have more with the interventions of the House of Representatives Speaker on other issues. Also, the EFCC grills former Imo State Governor, Senator Rochas Okrocha, over allegations of fraud after being arrested in his home in Abuja. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Victory is around the corner. General Overseer of RCCG, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, raises hope about overcoming insecurity in Nigeria as he visits Governor El Rufai. A day after 6 persons were killed in Zagon Kataf, 5 others have died after gunmen attacked Igabi and Zagon Kataf local government areas of Kaduna State. EFCC grills former Imo State Governor, Senator Rochas Okrocha, over allegations of fraud after being arrested in his home in Abuja. And US troops to withdraw from Afghanistan by September 11. And it was quite a busy day for the House of Representatives Speaker, as he also had to meet with some aides of lawmakers at the National Assembly who staged a protest to demand payment of their salaries and arrears as far back as 2019. The protest was carried out inside the lobby of the National Assembly just before the commencement of plenary. They're also asking for the implementation of CONMES payment system, minimum wage, payment of duty tour allowance, trainings and improvement of their conditions of service. In his response, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila promised that the matter would be quickly looked into.
Sometimes these things can be protracted, but wages owed since 2019 is not excusable. So we will look into it. I will just ask that you be a little bit patient, a little bit understanding. I know there are financial constraints, but one thing I know is that we will make sure that this matter is resolved amicably and your payments or your arrears are paid. Okay? We appreciate you. We appreciate your peaceful, bringing this peacefully to our attention, and we will deal with it appropriately.
Away from the National Assembly, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has invited the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okrocha, for questioning. There are no sufficient information from the EFCC regarding the reasons for the questioning, but a media aide to the former governor confirms that the arrest is in connection with allegations of fraud previously leveled against him, which are currently in court. The media aide said in a statement that the Imo State government had written petitions against Senator Okrocha shortly after he left office, and that the EFCC has the right to invite him for investigation. Sources told Channels Television that the former governor had refused to honor previous invitations from the Anti-Graft Commission before today. Senator Okrocha was reportedly arrested at about 4 p.m. at his Unity House private office in Abuja after a 5-hour standoff with EFCC operatives who reportedly trailed him to the location. And police authorities in Ogun State have confirmed the release of Dr. Oladuni Odetola and a nurse identified as Mrs. Bamboshe, who were kidnapped on the 7th of April. The command's public relations officer, DSP Abimbola Oyeyemi, would not confirm if ransom was paid by family members of the health workers. The gunmen are said to have emerged from the bush at Ulubo village with the victims before demanding a 20 million naira ransom. Dr. Oladuni Adetola is the head General Hospital in Meko local government area. Members of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Ogun Council, have threatened to down tools over the abduction of its members and insecurity in the state. Let's take you to Abuja, where Linda Kigwe has some more stories. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Now, staying with security, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, is advocating the need for improved working conditions for policemen as part of efforts to ensure effective security in the country. Mr. Alkali Baba says there are some policies which need to be reviewed to motivate officers and men of the force. He made the comments in Abuja today while playing host to the chairman and board members of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund at the force headquarters. He adds that the police is doing its best and will continue to be proactive in its duties to ensure the protection of lives and property.
There are a lot of policies that are discouraging the issue of barrack accommodation, but sincerely speaking, it is something that government needs to look into. It is always good to have a barrack so that you can mobilize your workforce within the quickest possible means or in a very short time. When we talk about logistics, there are many things. And from time to time, we'll give you a requirement based on what we need most. And we want you to help us in that respect. We have had members of the board and the chairman and the executive secretary, and these are all people that are known, and they all have integrity, tested one, that we should be proud of. We are looking forward for the board to succeed. Your success is our success. Your success is our happiness. Your success is our efficiency or improving our efficiency.
The Minister of Women Affairs, Mrs. Pauline Tallinn, is concerned about the rising cases of sexual and gender-based violence in the country. Current statistics by the ministry shows that reported cases of sexual and gender-based violence rose to 3,445 cases in the last 1 year, with only 11 convictions. The minister solicits the assistance of the judiciary in getting justice for all victims of gender-based violence. She was speaking at the launch of a National Strategic Knowledge Management Working Group to curb the menace. The rising cases of sexual and gender-based violence in the country is what has given rise to this meeting 1 year after the National Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Data Collection Platform was initiated. While the number of gender-based violence continues to rise, few convictions have been secured so far.
What we have on hand now is over 3,000 reported cases. But out of these over 3,000 reported cases, only 11 have been prosecuted. That is not acceptable. I appeal to the justice system to rise up to the occasion to ensure that no justice is delayed.
Development partners are prepared to assist the federal government in combating the menace. This would come in the form of sensitization, skills development, and a rollout of initiatives to reduce sexual and gender-based violence in the country.
Having launched the Situation Room, several achievements have been made to close the gap in producing quality and timely data for coordinated national response. The focus is currently on harmonisation of GBV data nationwide across all reporting platforms. In this context, measures are needed to support the harmonisation of data in Nigeria to enhance the success of this Situation Room. Hence, the setup of this Strategic Knowledge Management National Technical Working Group, which is structured to advise the Ministry in the multi-sectoral gender-based violence national response.
The World Bank is supporting the government of Nigeria through the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and other ministries to elevate the programming around women and girls through what we call SWAG, Supporting Women and Girls Initiative in Nigeria.
The newly inaugurated National Strategic Knowledge Management Working Group is expected to provide statistics on gender-based violence cases in the country with a view to reducing them through the legal system.
Address this.
Benue State and the Northeast Development Commission is receiving $2.3 million infrastructure fund by the government of Japan to strengthen healthcare provisions and build resilience of health systems in conflict-affected communities. The project, implemented by the United Nations Office of Project Services, is primarily aimed at scaling up oxygen supply and expand vaccine storage capacity in the 139 healthcare centers and 9 hospitals across Benue State.
Mitigating the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in vulnerable and conflict-torn regions in Nigeria is clearly a critical concern for the government of Japan and the United Nations. The focus on Benue State as the epicenter of the insurgency war and home to the highest number of displaced persons is not unsurprising. Here, the Benue government officially acknowledged receipt of a $2.3 million infrastructure fund by the Japanese government to specifically address the lack of oxygen supply and expand vaccine storage capacity.
The goal of the project is to strengthen healthcare provision, build resilience of health systems in conflict-affected communities. In UNOPS, we believe that we are well positioned to drive an extensive oxygen response, increasing the capacity of health facilities to meet the desperate need for oxygen therapy caused by COVID-19 and to save children's lives with severe pneumonia in Benue State.
7.1 million residents and IDPs are beneficiaries of the construction of oxygen plants across 139 healthcare centers.
The health facilities are confronted with the high risk of not having an adequate supply of oxygen. Statistics are appalling. Every year, 4.2 million children suffer from severe pneumonia in low and middle-income countries, including Nigeria. And the statistics is also appalling in the sense that approximately 15% of COVID-19 patients are classified as severe and require oxygen therapy.
Through the construction of oxygen systems in the state, the project, launched virtually by the governor of Benue State, Babagana Zulum, expands the vaccination campaign, fills critical gaps in clinical response to respiratory illnesses among residents, as well as mitigates the pervasive deaths among under 5 children.
Now, this $2.3 million project clearly aligns with Nigeria's strategy to scale up medical oxygen in health facilities by 2022. Now, the main assumption here is that insecurity will not escalate such that access to the facilities by residents during implementation will be hampered. From the UN House, Abuja, Gloria Umezike, Channels Television News.
When the News at 10 returns, we'll bring you more health stories. Plus, the Department of Petroleum Resources releases list of active and inactive private-owned refineries in the country. That's in business news. Please stay with us.
It appears the battle against COVID-19 pandemic is no longer limited to the quest for effective vaccines and treatment procedures. Surmounting the obstacles posed by myths and misinformation regarding the virus seems to be present, or rather presenting a major challenge as well. To address this, professionals in the medical and media sectors today converged virtually to chart ways and means of properly enlightening the public on numerous issues about the coronavirus pandemic. Speakers at the event, put together by the Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy and Nigerian Guild of Editors, are of the view that information exchange between professionals in the medical and media sector is important to getting verified information to the public.
Humanity has been hit with pandemics at various times in the past. Indeed, it has been reported that it comes in one form or the other once every 100 years. 2019 presented humanity with the novel coronavirus. The pandemic has taken its toll across the world, hampering business operations in no small measure. Although vaccines have been rolled out to combat this virus, many myths have continued to trail the pandemic. In combating these myths, an effective partnership between medical personnel and media experts is believed to be essential, which informed this gathering aimed at stating the facts about COVID-19.
And I think that whenever scientists and media professionals collaborate to deal with a problem in society, that problem is likely to be solved.
For many, the role of the media as the fourth estate of the realm should not be underestimated in the effort to straighten the issues.
We are now in the stage of how and then to sustain that. And back in Nigeria, you would know that a lot of media houses came up with programs. The whole place was awash with programs of all sorts to try and educate the people.
Of equal importance is the need for media professionals and medical practitioners in Nigeria to work together in educating the public on the reality of the virus and ways to mitigate disinformation and continuous spread in Nigeria.
About 3 days ago, Nigeria recorded only 53 cases. On the same day when Brazil had 4,000 deaths. Is it that COVID is going away, or is it that we are not testing enough? This is a country that lacks data. And I want to tell you, members of the media, that scientific practitioners in the pharmaceutical sector are ready, they are willing, they are waiting to give you content such that you can use them in the media.
Overall, the forum underscored the need to strengthen the partnership between the media and medical professionals in order to facilitate effective dissemination of information to the public, particularly as it affects the coronavirus pandemic.
Some other stories. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has confirmed a gas explosion at the Agboju area of Amuwo-Odofin in Lagos. The explosion happened at a retail gas shop in the area and was immediately put out by emergency officials. The agency says no casualty was recorded from the scene of the explosion. However, some persons who joined in putting out the fire sustained injuries. Over in Imo State, where Governor Hope Uzodimma says provision of critical infrastructure is a key component to the growth and development of any society. Governor Uzodimma disclosed this in Owerri, the Imo State capital, during the commissioning of the newly reconstructed and rehabilitated Chukwumawoha Road. He says the completion of the road remains a heartwarming story for the people of the area who have been faced with flooding and ecological issues for a long period of time.
Chukwumawoha Way is one of the most popular roads in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Over time, flood and erosion have taken over most parts of the road, making it totally impassable. On assumption of office, the Uzodimma administration began redesigning and reconstruction of the road, and today it's now a 2.8-kilometer dual carriageway completed with street lights. The road is ready to be commissioned, a task to be performed by the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Dr. Kayode Fayemi.
And for the benefit of all users of this road and the glory of God Almighty. Amen. Amen.
Governor Uzodimma explains the reason his government is embarking on the reconstruction.
Today we are practically commissioning a brand new dualized Chukwumawoha Road, which had been surrendered to flood and other ecological processes before we came on board. We all know how residents had deserted this road before we embarked on its holistic rehabilitation and recovery.
His guest, Ekiti State Governor Dr. Kayode Fayemi, commends Governor Uzodimma for providing quality infrastructure for the people, even at a period when the nation is faced with financial challenges.
What you have done here, Your Excellency, is a testimony to your commitment to the good people of Imo State. And it's not just here. Yes, the Honorable Commissioner for Works asked the question, why roads? If you don't focus on roads, you simply do not focus on development.
Then the road is declared ready for use.
And the benefit of all our people. Congratulations, sir.
According to the state government, Chukwuma Nwawe is strategically located within the state capital to ease daily traffic along Egbu and MCC Road, and it's named after one of Nigeria's finest footballers who won the Under-17 World Cup in China in 1985. Eyitope Kuteyi, Channels Television News.
Business News is next. Teniola Shibawale has the stories.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. The Department of Petroleum Resources has published a list of 57 private refineries with licenses and approvals to operate in Nigeria. According to the DPR, the refineries which are either active, inactive, or under construction have crude oil refining capacity of about 2 million barrels per day. The regulatory agency adds that the refineries whose licenses are inactive is due to the expiration of their 3-year milestone and can be renewed. It states that under the license to establish, 21 are inactive and 8 are active, while those with approval to construct, 20 are active and 8 not active. Meanwhile, Nigeria's crude oil production rose by 500,000 barrels per day to 1.429 million barrels in March, from the 1.424 million barrels recorded in February 2021. OPEC, in its monthly oil market report for April, says that it expects global oil demand to grow this year on expectation of a rebound from last year's huge tumble due to the coronavirus pandemic. Globally, OPEC forecasts increased by 6 million barrels per day, slightly higher than its prediction in March. It adds that the increase would push global demand to 96.5 million barrels per day in 2021. And our latest data by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that Nigeria's household consumption expenditure rose to 0.81% in 2020 from the minus 1.06 recorded in 2019, owing to strong recoveries in the third and fourth quarter of last year. According to its gross domestic product report for full year 2020, government consumption expenditure recorded a 61.58% growth rate compared to the 8.78% in 2019, due to the increased spending by government at all levels. On the flip side, though, net exports, which represented 11.00% of total real GDP at market prices, slipped to minus 29.55% in 2020, while the disposable income of households grew by 3.34%. In the third quarter of 2020, the gross domestic product declined in real terms by minus 3.62% year-on-year, but rose to 0.11% in the fourth quarter of 2020, ending the trend of 2 quarters of negative growth. The French government is seeking a stronger post-COVID-19 bilateral trade relations with the Nigerian government, as volume of trade between the two countries falls from $4.5 billion in 2019 to $2.3 billion in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Addressing journalists after a closed-door meeting with the Nigeria Governors Forum in Abuja, the French Minister of Foreign Trade and Attractiveness insists that Nigeria remains the first country in sub-Saharan Africa for French direct investment. Well, let's check in on the stock markets now. It's another bearish run at the local equities market, with the all-share index losing 0.29% owing to persistent sell pressure. Well, Laddie Williams brings us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. And the bear shows up again, second trading day of the week, this time not biting as hard as yesterday, with the all-share index down about 0.29% at 38,601 index points. Volume and value traded were much higher compared to Monday's session. Over 208 million units changed hands, valued about 2.909 billion naira. Guinness Nigeria stocks led the top decliners, down about 9.91%, with Japan Gold leading top gainers list, up 8.70%. The trio of Fidelity Bank, Guarantee Trust Bank, and FBN Holdings were the top traded by volume for the day. Anyway, today the Nigerian Stock Exchange becomes the Nigerian Exchange Group with a brand new logo and a fresh new website as a result of the demutualization of the NSE. It's the second trading day of the week, and with the dynamic nature of the stock market, we can only keep our fingers crossed for its next direction on Wednesday's session. And that's the Stock Market Report. It's back to you.
Thanks a lot, Laddie. Meanwhile, the U.S. stocks closed mostly higher after March inflation report doused the fear of traders. Well, here are some of the closing numbers. And that's business news tonight. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Teniola. U.S. President Joe Biden is set to announce September 11 as date for American troops' withdrawal from Afghanistan. The new deadline will coincide with the 20th anniversary of the terror attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon in the U.S. in 2001. The move comes hours after it was confirmed that the Taliban and the Afghan government would take part in a U.S.-led peace conference in Turkey starting later this month. Here's Samuel Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. About 40 people have been arrested just north of Minneapolis in a second night of unrest over the police shooting of a black man. Protesters in the city of Brooklyn Center defied a curfew and took to the streets to mourn the death of 20-year-old Dante Wright, who was killed by a police officer after being pulled over for an expired vehicle registration.
It is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet.
Brooklyn Center Police Chief Tim Gannon said that the shooting dead of Mr. Wright was an accidental discharge, as Officer Kim Porter mistakenly drew her gun.
The question is, was it an accident? Was it intentional?
U.S. President Joe Biden said he has spoken to authorities in Minnesota and pleaded for peace and calm in the area. Meanwhile, in a courtroom just a few miles away from the fatal shooting, George Floyd's younger sibling has testified as prosecutors prepare to rest their case against the ex-officer accused of murdering him.
It was one of a kind. George, he would always be up on our mom.
Villainese Floyd took to the stand and remembered his brother as a big mama's boy and a leader to us in the household. Through tears, the younger Floyd spoke about their relationship and told the court, "I miss my brother." Derek Chauvin has pleaded not guilty to murder and manslaughter charges. Japan will release more than 1 million tons of contaminated water from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear plant into the sea. The water will be treated and diluted so radiation levels are below those set for drinking water. The process is expected to take decades. China, South Korea and the local fish industry have all strongly opposed the move. The water used to cool the reactors after the meltdown in March 2011 is currently stored in tanks in and around the plant on Japan's northeast coast. Multiple sources have reported large Russian military movements towards the eastern Ukraine border and into Crimea. Moscow refused to provide substantial information on why Russia has amassed 40,000 troops, armoured personnel carriers, tanks and artillery near Ukraine's eastern border in recent weeks. Military analysts say a big invasion is unlikely, and the build-up is nothing but a show of force designed to coerce Ukraine to grant more autonomy to the separatist regions known collectively as Donbass. Turkey have renewed their commitment to a controversial 2019 maritime agreement that has angered Greece and Cyprus. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and the head of Libya's new interim government, Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dibao, have signed an agreement triggering protests from Greece and Cyprus. Both countries denounced the move, saying it was a serious breach of international law that disregarded the rights of other Eastern Mediterranean countries. The trial of 11 suspected members of a far-right terror group has begun in the German city of Stuttgart. Prosecutors say the 11 men planned attacks on migrants, Muslims and politicians with the aim of sparking a civil war. The indictment says that the men intended to shake and ultimately topple the state and social order in Germany. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Prime Minister has announced a new cabinet in a move that consolidates President Félix Tshisekedi's control in government. The new coalition, dubbed the Sacred Union of the Nation, gives President Tshisekedi full control of the government and ends a leadership struggle with his predecessor Joseph Kabila. The new cabinet is considered a further blow to Mr. Kabila, who stepped down in January 2019 but maintained control of key ministries, including the legislature, judiciary and security services. And finally, a group of elderly Chinese bodybuilders has been gathering every single day for the past 40 years at an old bicycle shed in southwest Beijing, ready to pump iron. Most of the members were young men in their 20s and 30s when the gym was founded in 1984. The club has never closed in its near 4 decades history. Not even the COVID-19 pandemic could keep its 29 members, the oldest of whom is 82, away over the past year. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. And for some sports news, here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. Some remarkable news from the National Sports Festival. 10-year-old Stephanie Onusurika of Anambra State has won gold in the women's gymnastics aerobics event. Here's the report.
Gymnastics at the National Sports Festival winds up with 10-year-old Stephanie Onusurika standing tall among the best in the country by winning the aerobics event after amassing 11.8 points. Onusurika's perfection earns her a gold medal for Anambra State and her 4th at the Games after winning 2 silver medals in the floor event and a bronze in beam event.
I feel so happy because I'm the second girl to be the best gymnast in the whole of Nigeria. It encouraged me so that I can go to the Olympics and win several gold medals, and so that I can be the best in the whole world, like Simone Biles.
While gymnastics seems very peaceful, there was scuffle at the boxing events as officials and boxers of Ogun State protested the decision of the referees. Boxers returned to the ring after normalcy was restored. Adeshodun Michael of Lagos State completely floors Fajimi Taye of Ogun State to claim the gold medal. In the women's event, national champion Latifat Tijani redeems Ogun State's image by beating Alade Oluwatobi of Ekiti State to win gold. The competition comes to a close with 4x100 meters mixed relay and 4x400 meters relay preceding the closing ceremony.
In the UEFA Champions League, last season's losing finalists PSG of Paris Saint-Germain have knocked out holders Bayern Munich on the away goals rule despite losing the second leg 1-0 in the French capital. Chelsea, the England representatives, edged into the semi-finals with a 2-1 aggregate victory despite a 1-0 defeat by FC Porto in their last 8 second leg. Austrian Adi Huerta will quit as Eintracht Frankfurt head coach at the end of the season to take charge of the German Bundesliga rivals Borussia Mönchengladbach. Huerta will sign a 3-year contract as head coach of Mönchengladbach, replacing Marco Rose, who is leaving to take over at Borussia Dortmund for the 2021-2022 season. Eintracht Frankfurt are on the verge of qualifying for the Champions League next season. Fans wishing to attend the English League Cup final on April the 25th between Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspur will need to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test within 24 hours of the match. Man City and Tottenham will each be given 2,000 tickets for the game at Wembley Stadium, which is being used as a test event for the return of fans to stadiums. A total of 8,000 fans will be allowed to attend, with the other 50% of tickets going to local residents near Wembley and the National Health Service staff. UEFA has been given a commitment by the British government that Wembley will host a minimum of 25% capacity for England's 3 group games at the European Championships this year. Real Madrid have announced that Florentino Perez has been re-elected unopposed as president for a 6th term. Perez was the only candidate to apply after nominations opened at the start of the month. The 74-year-old construction monarch had already been re-elected unopposed twice in 2013 and in 2017. He is approaching 18 years in charge of the Spanish champions. And that's a wrap on sports news. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, today raised hope about overcoming insecurity in Nigeria as he visited Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State. He said victory is around the corner. Also today, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, invited former Imo State Governor, Senator Rochas Okrocha, for questioning over allegations of fraud. And U.S. announced that its troops will withdraw from Afghanistan by September the 11th. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Good night. Stay safe.